Good morning, everyone. I hope you guys are doing well. Today we're going to be focusing on some racing. If you think about relay racing, or if you've watched track and field, Usain Bolt, we are going to be focusing on story problems that have to do with running. So I would take a second to familiarize yourself with people that you know that run, or just visualizing a track, or even thinking about yourself running with some friends. There are a couple of resources that I think are really valuable to this lesson. The first one is these tools for dividing fractions. This is the resource that I will be using to explain. I also put a virtual fraction kit on Google Classroom for you, so you have the opportunity to print it out or to use it virtually. So the first problem says 3 students ran 1/2 mile. How much did each student run? So we're trying to figure out how we can divide a 1/2 mile in between 3 people. And at first this might sound really difficult, but I'm going to draw a picture to kind of help set up the context. So I know I'm going to say from here to here is 1 mile. 1 mile. And I know that they ran half. These 3 students ran half. So I'm going to say from here to here is 1/2 mile. Now, I need to split this 1/2 mile into 3 separate parts. And you may look at your fraction kit and say, I already see 3 fractions that will fit evenly into this 1/2 mile. But maybe you're saying, what plus what plus what plus what would equal 1/2 mile? And I'm thinking, well, I know I have to split up into 3 parts. So I'm going to draw this. And I need to figure out what plus what plus what equals 1/2. Something plus something plus something equals 1/2. Now, you may have already looked at your fraction kit and kind of figured it out, but if you aren't figuring it out, I'm going to start with fourths. And I'm going to say 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4. Gives me 3/4. That's not equivalent to 1/2 mile. So maybe I'm going to do fifths. 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 would give me 3/5. That's not equivalent to 1/2 mile. Let me try sixths. 1/6 plus 2/6 plus 3/6. 3/6 is equivalent to 1/2 mile. 1/6 plus 1/6 plus 1/6 gives me 1/2, because 1/6 plus 1/6 plus 1/6 is 3/6, and we know that 3/6 is equivalent to 1/2. So I know that each student ran 1/6 of a mile. Now, the strategy that I use is called guess and check. I went through a list of fractions in my mind and guessed. Now, another thing you might think of is, what is the relationship between the numbers 3 and the numbers 2? You might think, okay, I know that I have to figure out something that's half, right? So I might think to myself, I know that 3 and 2 are related, and I know that 6 is double 3, so 3 must be half of 6. So one of the ways that I thought about it is, if I kept going and kept pretending like this was a full mile, like the students ran a full mile, I would know that it would take exactly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I know that 3/6 and 3/6 make 1 mile. I know that 1 mile is equivalent to 3/6. That's one strategy that you can look at, is look at the relationship between the numbers and see if you can figure out. If you're using your fraction kit, you can look. You can say, okay, I know the 3 students ran 1/2 mile, and I know that 1/3 doesn't get me to 1/2. I know that 1/4, it only takes 2 runners to get me to 1/2, but I'm looking at 1, 2, 3 runners got me to 1/2. And that's exactly what we drew here.